Day 73. Deuteronomy chapter 8, 9 and 10. There are seasons in life when God feels very close to us. And then there are seasons when everything feels uncertain, when we are walking through what feels like a wilderness. After 40 long years in the wilderness, the Israelites were finally standing at the edge of the Promised Land. They had survived hunger, fear, wandering and uncertainty. But now, something unexpected was about to happen. Life was about to become easier, and strangely enough, ease can sometimes be more dangerous to faith than hardship. So Moses begins reminding them of lessons they might overlook. Know then in your heart that as a man disciplines his son, so the Lord your God disciplines you. That sentence alone changes the way we understand difficult seasons. Many people assume that when life becomes painful it means God has abandoned them. But the wilderness taught Israel something different. Hard seasons were not proof of God's absence, they were often evidence of his involvement. God sometimes allows difficult seasons not because he has abandoned us, but because he is forming something inside us. Patience, humility, trust. The wilderness was not just a place of survival for Israel, it was a training ground for the heart. Think about a loving parent raising a child. Correction is not punishment for the sake of punishment, it is preparation for the future. In the same way, God sometimes allows discomfort because he is shaping character. The wilderness was not meant to destroy Israel, it was meant to prepare them for responsibility. And the same truth still applies today. Sometimes the job loss, the delay, the closed door, or the long season of waiting, is not rejection, it is training. Moses goes on to remind them about the mysterious food God gave them in the desert, manna. He says God gave them manna, something their ancestors had never known, to humble them and test them so that in the end it might go well with them. Think about that. God did not simply provide food, he provided a lesson through the food. Manna appeared daily, just enough for each day. It forced the people to depend on God every single morning. No long-term storage, no stockpiling, no illusion of control, just daily trust. Scarcity taught them reliance. But Moses knew something important. Once they entered the Promised Land, food would be everywhere. He describes it as a land where bread would not be scarce and they would lack nothing. A land where the rocks contained iron and copper could be dug from the hills. In other words, resources would be abundant. And abundance has a strange effect on the human heart. It can quietly convince us that we no longer need God. That is why Moses warns them. He says one day they will eat and be satisfied. They will build beautiful houses. Their wealth will grow. And in that moment they must be careful not to say, "My power and the strength of my hands have produced this wealth for me." How often does that happen today? A person prays desperately for a breakthrough. The breakthrough comes, and slowly the prayer life disappears. Success replaces dependence. But Moses reminds them of something crucial. It is God who gives the ability to produce wealth. The strength, the ideas, the opportunities, the health, the connections. None of them exist apart from him. Many people think the greatest threat to faith is suffering, but the Bible suggests something else. Comfort can be more dangerous than hardship. Because suffering makes us pray. But comfort can make us forget. Another worthy whisper is at the point where Moses reminds the people about the moment they built the golden calf while he was on the mountain. It was a shocking betrayal. God had rescued them from slavery, parted the sea, fed them in the desert, and yet they quickly turned to idolatry. Moses tells them that when God saw their rebellion, he was ready to destroy them. But Moses interceded. He prayed for them. He pleaded with God saying, "Remember your servants Abraham, Isaac and Jacob. Overlook the stubbornness of this people." In other words, Moses appealed to God's promises, not the people's goodness. That moment reveals something deeply comforting. Israel survived not because they were perfect. They survived because God was merciful. And if we are honest, the same is true for us. Many of us are standing in blessings today that we almost lost because of our own mistakes. But mercy stepped in. God listens to intercession. An entire nation was spared because someone stood in prayer for them. Never underestimate the power of praying for others. Some people today are alive, protected and still walking toward God because someone somewhere prayed for them. Later Moses describes coming down the mountain with the stone tablets containing God's commandments. Placing them inside the ark symbolized something deeper. God's word was meant to be at the center of their national life. Not just in their buildings, not just in their rituals, but at the center of their identity. Placing the commandments in the ark might seem like a small detail, but it reveals something profound. Sacred things must be protected. The commandments were not just words, they represented the covenant, the relationship between God and His people. Today, the equivalent might be the spiritual truths God places in our hearts. Moments of conviction. Lessons learned through pain. Promises spoken during prayer. If we do not protect those things, life's noise can bury them. Moses put the tablets in the ark so they would not be forgotten. Sometimes we must do the same. We must guard the truths God has shown us. Write them down, remember them, live by them. Finally, Moses asks a question that every person seeking God must consider. What does the Lord your God ask of you? The answer is surprisingly simple. To fear the Lord, to walk in His ways, to love Him, to serve Him with all your heart. God is not primarily interested in rituals or appearances. He is interested in the heart. A heart that remembers. A heart that trusts. A heart that loves Him. So what have we learned from today's whispers? If you are walking through a difficult season, remember, the wilderness is not the end of your story. God sometimes uses difficult seasons to shape the kind of person who can handle future blessings. And if you are in a season of success or stability, remember, your strength did not bring you here alone. God opened doors. God sustained you. God carried you through moments you may have already forgotten. So stay humble. Stay grateful. Stay close to Him. Because the same God who guided Israel through the wilderness is still guiding people today. And the promise remains the same. If we walk with Him, trust Him, and remember Him, in the end, it will go well with us.